What's going on, everybody? K2 here with Week 8 of the CCL D-League. This week we're going up against Weird Owl Knight. This is an interdivision match, which means we will not be having a rematch this week. Or we will not be rematching this person later on in the season, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. But this is the last match that I have to catch up on. As soon as this one goes up, we are all caught up on the season up to this point, which means the next CCL match will not be uploaded tomorrow. Instead, I'm going to have to figure out something else to post tomorrow, because I've been on the daily upload grind for, what, 12 days now, it feels like? 10 days? I don't know. Anyway, that's besides the point, because we have a match to narrate here, and I'm going to go ahead and go over the team. So first off, I have this this Weavile here, and it's pretty standard. Instead of the Life Orb, I have the Never Melt Ice, no, it's not Never Melt Ice, it is Black Glasses, because you always wear your Black Glasses on your Weavile. I've learned it just looks cooler with Black Glasses than with the Dread Plate, or whatever. Like, you always run Black Glasses over Dread Plate. There's no difference between the two effects, but, like, the Black Glasses are so much cooler than a fucking plate. Any other plate over any other item, though. That's what I've learned. Anyway, that's besides the point. This thing has Pursuit for the Victini. If it wants to V-create me, then go right ahead. Raikou is Scarfed, same with two other things on my team that you're going to find out. Yes, I did bring triple Scarf this game. I don't normally recommend bringing 3 Scarfers to a match. But then again, I just did it, so, like, who am I to judge? This Raikou has Aura Sphere, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to make it Scarfed. Also, fun fact, a Rash Max Speed Raikou still outspeeds Victini or like any base 100s by 1 point. They base 100s hit 328 max speed. Rash Raikou max speed hits 329. So just keep that in mind. We have to run Rash, of course, because we have the Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere is there for the Keyroom. Also to get off some extra little bit of damage against the Porygon that he had. I forget what else was on his team. Yeah, Porygon 2, not Porygon Z. Yeah, I forget what else he had on his team. So that's Raikou. It has the Volt Switch this week. Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Aura Sphere. I think Hidden Power Ice. I think. Anyway, that's besides the point. It's Scarf. It's gonna do what it do. Next up, we have a Mixed Defensive Mantine. Once again, I think Mixed Defensive is the best way to go with Mantine. Because it almost never dies, unless you just sack it. So, Mantine this week is going to have the Roost, it's going to have the Haze, and then it's going to have Scald and Hidden Power Electric. The reason I had Hidden Power Electric was for his Gyarados, which didn't come. He also has a Tornadus Therian that I could do some extra added damage to in the electric terrain, except actually I don't think it works because Mantine is in the air, so it doesn't get the effect from the terrain if I am not mistaken. So that's gonna be Mantine. So like completely forget about that electric terrain comment. It makes no difference. Roserade here. It has Stun Spore, which was originally for the Tornadus T, which now he doesn't have it on the team that he brought, which is great. And God, Mono, I'm trying to narrate this battle. Stop discording me. Thank you. God, Christopher. Anyway, Roserade also has Toxic Spikes, because I looked at his team and I was like, I really need Toxic Spikes on this team. His only forms of hazard removal are Donphan and Scizor. Both are okay options, but if he decides to defog or Rapid Spin, I have ways to punish that. Also, like, Mantine comes in on Scizor. That's what Mantine is meant for, because it takes bullet punches for days. It has the Rocky Helmet, so it'll get off some chip damage and punish Scizor for bullet punching. And I can also Scald Burn it. And then lastly, I have the Cobra Berry on this Rose Raid. Again, Cobra Berry was for the Tornadus. However, I did keep in mind that Tapu Koko does get Brave Bird, and if it doesn't have Brave Bird, it can't really touch Rose Raid, so I'm kind of expecting him to have Brave Bird, expecting Rose Raid to be a pseudo check to the guy, the fast-looking bird mohawk dude. Yep, that's a scientific name. If you look it up in the Pokedex, that's what it's called. I have Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb, and it's going to be able to do some stuff if I get up the Toxic Spikes. It's going to be really nice. Most of it, well, all of his team that he brought are grounded, which is nice. Next up, we have Scarf Jirachi. It's going to do the scarfing, flinching things. I hope it's there for the Kyurem. It's there for, it has Energy Ball, which is nice. It has Fire Punch for the Scizor that came, and then Iron Head is just nice for Kyurem and Tapu Koko. Also has U-Turn, so I can get some momentum if I want it. And lastly, I have Scarf Garchomp with the Stealth Rocks, which are going to be nice for Kyurem Victini. Also on Slowbro. And I figured, you know what, we need the Earthquake, we need the Scarf to outspeed his potential Scarf Victini, which wouldn't be a bad bring. It outspeeds his Tapu Koko, which wouldn't be bad, and let's go ahead and get right in the match. I decided to lead with Garchomp, potentially get up my rocks, or just get off big damage against the Tapu Koko lead if he wants to do that. But he leads with Kyurem, so I'm not really going to try and risk Garchomp this early in the match. It's not even really a risk. There's no point in going for Dragon Claw since it will not kill, and he can just knock me out with Ice Beam or Dragon Pulse. So I'm going to go into Jirachi, scouting for either one of those if he wants to go for it. He could also just double out himself, protecting his Kyurem's health. And that's what he's going to do. I'm going to U-turn out on the Scizor. I could have Fire Punched, but I decided I can U-turn out into Mantine in order to see what kind of Scizor this is. And I see that he has the Rocky Helmet, so that's bad news bears, because Rocky Helmet does things for Rachi. So like that's a good thing for Jirachi, Rocky Helmet on Scizor. So we're just going to go straight into Mantine, like I said, and he's actually going to show the agility, and I'm like, yeah, that's the most telegraphed baton pass I've ever seen in my life, so I'm just going to click Haze as he goes into the Kyurem, and there goes his +2 speed. He's going to go for the Ice Beam here, and I'm going to go for the Scald, get the Lucky Burn, which is what I was going for, because there's no other reason to go for Scald against the Kyurem. He reveals the Hidden Power Electric, and we only get up to 58%, and because we're not leftovers, we can't survive another one. So I'm basically forced to switch here. Now, what was running through my head is he could potentially Earth Power, expecting my Jirachi, since I already showed that was my switch in on turn 1 to this Kyurem. But I also can't risk Mantine dying to a Hidden Power Electric here, so I decided it was best to just make the play in a Jirachi. Even if he goes for Earth Power, I can live it, so like I can still capitalize on it. However, he's going to nail us, and we're going to be down to 7%, and he can just bring in his Scizor, and we're going to die to the Rocky Helmet as I try to U-turn out of there, which is fine. Rachi was not necessary for this match, and right here, I am going to go into Rose Raid, try and force him out with the fear of Hidden Power Fire, and I'm going to go ahead and get up a Toxic Spike as he switches out. He goes into Victini, and right here, I figure there's no way he's going to go for a V-Create or a Zen Headbutt, because if he goes for V-Create, well, I just come in with the Weavile to revenge it with the Pursuit, and I'm expecting him to be a Scarf Victini. I have two relatively nice switch-ins in Mantine, which is Rocky Helmet and Garchomp, both of which can come in, and I'm expecting a U-turn here, and that is what is going to happen. He's going to go ahead and U-turn out into Scizor. I decided to click Stun Spore that turn, in case He went for like Bolt Strike against it, but I did expect the U-turn. He goes into Scizor, and I decided Stun Spore was a good play because if he were to go into Donphan, Tapu Koko, or Slowbro, they're getting poisoned, and I can deal with them with either one of my stabs on the following turn. And I can capitalize on the Scizor if it wants to switch in and try to paralyze that. So right here, I'm going to go straight into actually I go into Garchomp on the Scizor. Not really knowing what he'd want to do against Garchomp, and I figured I could go ahead and take this as an opportunity to get my Stealth Rocks up. And he's probably going to go into Slowbro, so no reason to click Earthquake right now. Mostly because he does have that Slowbro and the Donphan, which could potentially have the Ice Shard. So I'm just going to go ahead and get up my rocks, which are going to be nice for Kyurem and Victini. However, he goes straight into Victini, which kind of threw me off. Because he could have just as easily gone for... I could have just as easily gone for Earthquake, which would have knocked out the Victini just right there. And like I already know what the Scizor set is at this point. It has Baton Pass, Agility, and Defog, and it's not going to be it's not going to forego the utility of Bullet Punch because I do have the Weavile. So that's pretty much what I think its set is. So he couldn't really do much to Garchomp. And I could have 2-hit KO'd it with the Earthquake, and I don't know, it's just, I guess it was a good play because he got in before Rocks if he was expecting it, but he said in the chat that he was expecting Toxic on Slowbro, so it was kind of risky on his part, but it worked out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go straight into Mantine, get off some Rocky Helmet damage, and I can, see what he wants to send out next for his next answer to the Mantine. So he goes into the Tapu Koko, which I do have my Roserade, and it still has that Cobra Berry, so I'm expecting him to have Brave Bird. I already went over it. Roserade is a pretty good answer to Tapu Koko. So he's actually going to show the Calm Mind here, and I'm expecting him to Brave Bird this turn, so I'm just going to go straight for the Sludge Bomb. And if he doesn't go for the Brave Bird, he might not have it. So that could be a thing to look out for. So he does go for the second Calm Mind, and I'm going to go ahead and Sludge Bomb. He reveals that he is Kebia Berry. We get the poison, which is nice. And he's going to actually Brave Bird this turn. And I'm actually going to go for a Toxic Spike here, because I figured... A Toxic Spike is still really good against his team, and B, if he didn't go for Brave Bird on the last turn, he wasn't going to go for it this turn, either because he didn't have it or because he forewent Brave Bird for Roost. Neither of which are the case, as he Brave Birds this turn, and I'm basically forced into a situation where I have to sack. So I'm actually going to make a switch into Raikou here, expecting... either Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, or Brave Bird. Any of those I can take, and I can reveal that I'm Scarfed, take out his Tapu Koko with a Volt Switch, and that's going to be what's going to happen. We take this Dazzling Gleam that he actually goes for. Not well, but we take it, and we're going to go ahead and Volt Switch out. I didn't think he would go into Donphan, and if he did, I would have been completely fine with that, because he would have been poisoned, which would have been a lot easier to deal with. So we get the Volt Switch kill with Raikou, and down goes Tapu Koko, and I'm going to go straight into Weavile here. So he has a couple of potential switch-ins here. I don't think he's going to go into a Victini to take Stealth Rocks damage, and Donphan, he probably doesn't want to get poisoned, so he's probably going to go straight into the Scizor, expecting, or trying to get off a Defog, so I'm going to take that as an opportunity for myself to go into Mantine and Roost back up. As he does go for the Bullet Punch, and we get off some nice chip damage with the Rocky Helmet, we're going to Roost back up again, and he is going to Defog. So, we get a lot of momentum out of those last couple turns, and he's going to go ahead and get some momentum right back here. So he goes into Slowbro on my Switch, into Garchomp, which is nice, but I do have Mantine for this Slowbro, so I'm just going to go straight into that. Even if it is a Calm Mind Slowbro, I can take it on, but it's not. It's actually a physical Slowbro with Ice Punch, so we can take that on fairly nicely. And right here, I went into Roserade to try and capitalize on his Slowbro, maybe wanting to go for Toxic against Mantine if he had it, but instead he's going to make the switch into Kyurem, which kind of sucks for me, because Roserade dies if he goes for any attack, and I don't have a good switch in, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and sack Raikou here, but instead I'm alive because he goes for Iron Head. He said after the match that he didn't want Weavile to come in, which is fair, but now we have a living Raikou, and it can still Aura Sphere this Kyurem. He doesn't allow me to do that. He goes straight into his Victini, and right here I'm going to go out into my Garchomp, expecting the U-turn, get off another bit of chip damage, and he's going to go into Donphan. So right here I'm going to go back into Mantine, and he's going to go for the Play Rough. It does almost nothing, and Mantine is looking like just a really solid option against his entire team. The only thing that can really kill me at this point is Kyurem with Hidden Power Electric, as long as I am in range, and also a Bolt Strike from Victini, which would be very risky for him to try and do, because I can just sack Raikou and go into Garchomp, and he doesn't really have a good switch in besides Slowbro, which I can take advantage of because I know he's physical. And there's just a lot that I can end up doing. I just need to play Mantine well, and I feel like I can win this game. So I'm just going to go ahead. I actually double out this time, and I go into Raikou expecting Kyurem. So now I'm going to go ahead, make the same exact play so as to not over-predict. I'm going to Aura Sphere and actually take out this Kyurem. He leaves it in to die. So at this point, I look at Weavile and I look at his team and I'm like, all I really need is some extra chip damage on this Donphan. So I'm just going to go straight for the Aura Sphere once again. It'll put Donphan in range to die to knockoff, and he won't have a good switch into knockoff. And by a good switch into knockoff, he has no switch into knockoff. Everything dies. And if Slowbro doesn't die, it gets to it KO'd. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to sack off Raikou here, come in with Weavile, and grab my kill with knockoff. So he decides to sack off his Scizor here. He realizes it's not overly useful against Mantine, and he's going to go into Victini. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Garchomp, and basically that play I was thinking, look, he has two plays. He can either U-turn out, or he can go for the fire move. So expecting either one of those, Garchomp was my play. Donphan dies to Earthquake, so he'd be forced to go into Slowbro, but I do have the switch into Mantine, and I can basically just win the game with Mantine by clicking Scald over and over, because he wouldn't be able to get in with his Victini safely. So that would have been my plan of action, but instead he goes for the fire move, and I'm just going to go ahead and click the Earthquake, expecting him to stay in, and I'm just going to go out into Mantine now and start wearing down the Slowbro. I'm going to Roost Up, of course, so then he can't really do anything. He's going to go ahead and actually Rock Polish with his Donphan just to reveal that he had it, and down goes the Donphan because I get it with the Scald, and all he has left is now this, well, as you're going to see, his Curse Slowbro. So that was pretty heat, but probably not entirely the right bring against me, because I do have Mantine, which dealt with it super well. So I'm basically just going to stall it out with Rocky Helmet damage, and I also have Hidden Power Electric to finish it off. So it's gonna be the game pretty much. I'm gonna haze just because I can, and that's going to be the game. That was week 8 of the CCLD League. We are now sitting atop the CCLD League at this point. After 8 weeks, we are 7-1 at plus 24, which is good for number 1 overall in the league. So I'm fairly proud of the way that I've been playing this season, but we do have a lot to go still. We have 5 more weeks of the regular season, and then we also have playoffs. So I still have to stay focused, and I still gotta do whatever I can to win my first championship. So that's what I'm setting out to do. So, if you guys enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like down below, and I will see you guys next time.